It's an entire miracle that I boarded a plane from Côte International Airport in Accra for Simalen International Airport Yaoundé, and I found myself in Ivory Coast. I shared those videos on my channel and people were just... Now, in one of the videos I shared of me touring Ivory Coast, I could not help but notice that Ivory Coast was just the same like Ghana. I just did not expect it. I think this is also because I didn't study about Ivory Coast prior to my arrival, because I didn't plan on being in Ivory Coast, you know. In one of my videos, I went to the market and just around town, I was like, am I still in Ghana? The main difference was the language that was spoken, which is French in Côte d'Ivoire and English in Ghana. So that's the only thing that was like a wake-up call. So I mentioned and passed some of the things that I thought was just so similar with Ghana. And when I came back from that video, some people mentioned some things and I was like, you know what? I'm going to study deeper into these similarities between Ivory Coast and Ghana, and I'm going to do like an entire video based on my experiences and what I have learned about the similarities between Ghana and Ivory Coast. And then when I went to study about it, I discovered that it's the same people. Difference being that Ghana was colonized by the British and Ivory Coast by the French, so giving them different languages, English in Ghana and French in Ivory Coast. So in this video, we're going to establish the fact that Ghana and Ivory Coast are brothers that are separated by colonization, but they're basically like the same people. Now, for you to have a full understanding of this entire story, we have to go back a few centuries ago. So once upon a time in 1770, there lived a Kumasi princess called Ablapoko. She was the niece of one of the founding members of the Ashanti Confederation, Otumfo Osei Tutu I. When I visited Kumasi, I shared the story of the Ashanti Kingdom, how it rose, and I shared about power in present-day Kumasi. In that video, I shared how the Ashanti Confederacy was founded by two people, Otumfo Osei Tutu I and his priest Okomfonachi. Now, that video is going to be in the comment section, so you're going to understand the other part of this story. Let's go to our topic today, bringing Ivory Coast into the picture. Now, in the Ashanti Empire, there were fractions, and due to disagreements between these fractions, Queen Poco led a breakaway movement from the main Ashanti Empire, and they ran westward towards Côte d'Ivoire, avoiding a war. When they got to a river called the Courriel River, in order to protect the fraction that was with her, she sought advice from her counselor on how they could cross the Courriel River without being touched by the war. Legend has it that the breakaway fraction, when they got to the Courriel River, they threw in their gold, their jewelry, all their precious things into the river to appease the gods, so the gods could make a way for them to cross the river. But this didn't work out. So after trying lots of things to make the gods be on their favor, Queen Poco sought advice from her counselor on how the people could be saved from the war that was coming. And the priest told her only a royal son could save the people and make them cross the river. Now with this, Queen Poco decided that her role as a queen was higher than her role as a mother, sacrificed her son into the Courriel River. Now there's two legends. The first legend holds that when her son was sacrificed, a herd of hippopotamus came out of the river, formed a breach, and this breakaway fraction crossed to the other side of the river. Another legend holds that when she sacrificed her son, trees fell from the other side, creating a breach for the people to cross to the other side of the river. Whatever the story was, the fact is that the people crossed to the other side of the Courriel River. Now, when they got to the Courriel River, the queen shouted, "Baoulé," meaning the child is dead. And that is how the breakaway movement from the main Ashanti Confederation that moved to Côte d'Ivoire became the Baoulé people. Now, it is also worth mentioning that the Akans that moved from the Ashanti Empire are not the only Akan settlement in Côte d'Ivoire. So as you can see, it's the same family that broke into fractions. One stayed in Ghana and the other moved to Ivory Coast. That is why there are so many similarities between them. Now, as we move further, just so you further understand the similarities, it is worth mentioning that 45.5% of the people living in Ghana are Akan, and 29% of people living in Ivory Coast are the Akan people. And for both countries, the Akan people are the majority. And with this new tribe created, do I need to tell you that they carry the same practices from where they grew up and brought to this new place? No, it's like just automatic. Now let's just dive into some of the similarities, starting with the ones that I mentioned. Let's talk about names. The Akans have a naming system where when you're born on Monday, the Akans have a specific name for you born on Monday. When you're born on Tuesday, everybody born on Tuesday has the same name, and it just creates like order. When the Baoulé people left from the main Ashanti Empire and formed a new settlement, they carried this same tradition but decided to change their calendar a little bit just so that they could create their own signature. So that's the first similarity. Now, also talking about naming, the capital of the Ashanti region in Ghana is called Kumasi. When I got to Ivory Coast, I discovered that there is a place called Kumasi, spelled differently, but Kumasi said the same. So that just tells me that it's two people that are trying to find their unique touch to the things that they have in common. The second thing that I discovered, which is a similarity between Ghana and Ivory Coast, is the fashion. I spoke about this in one of the videos I shared about me touring Ivory Coast. Ghanaians weave this durable and beautiful fabric called the kente, and the Ivorians also weave a durable and beautiful fabric they call the Baoulé. I think I saw this when I went to the Grand Marché de Makori, and I was like, this is kente, and they're like, no, it's not kente, it's their own type. So like I said, trying to put their own signature to the thing that they have in common. In my video when I was talking about the Ashanti Empire, I shared the origin of the kente. Once upon a time, two friends were walking in the forest. They saw a spider building a web, and they were so fascinated by how the spider took one web on another, creating a beautiful design. When they came back to the village, they decided to mimic a clothing with the patterns of the spider's movement, and that is how the kente came into existence. So it's the same origin. The next thing, which is a similarity between Ghana and Ivory Coast, is the language, and the language is Twi. About 58% of Ghana speaks Twi and 30% of Ivory Coast speaks Twi. So apart from Ivory Coast and Ghana, we also have people in Suriname who speak Twi. We also have people in Jamaica, and we have people in Togo who speak Twi. So these are all settlements of the Akan people, and they have one thing in common, which is the language. Another thing that is similar, obviously, if I am migrating from one place to another, it doesn't matter if I was brought out by a war or a plague or whatever, I'm not going to dump a food that I love in that place for any reason. So obviously, another thing they have in common is the kind of foods they eat. For example, fufu, which is the main traditional meal in the Ashanti region. It's also one of the emblematic meals of Côte d'Ivoire. Now, I don't know if I should put this like a similarity, but both countries were named by their colonial masters by the product which they bought in those places. So Ghana was called the Gold Coast because their colonial masters traded or got gold from the Gold Coast. But in 1957, Ghana changed her name from the Gold Coast to Ghana. Now it's the same pattern with Ivory Coast, which was a place where the colonial masters traded in ivory. In 1986, Ivory Coast changed its name from Ivory Coast to Côte d'Ivoire, which is just the French translation of Ivory Coast. We call that a similarity. I don't know, but we're just gonna have it here. So in the comment section, let us know what are the similarities between Ghana and Ivory Coast. If you're in Ivory Coast or you're in Ghana and you've been to both countries, let's know, based on your experience, what are those things you see and you're like, am I still in my country? These are my brothers. Just let us know in the comment section those things that have just made you to know that though we speak different languages, this is family. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned like small history about our continent Africa. Let's discuss in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye. Oh, by the way, as you can see, my name is Victorine Bih Takwe. I'm a content creator from Cameroon, and I'm traveling around Africa to just discover our beautiful continent and to share my experiences with you all. I am having such an amazing time, and yep, that's about it.